Welcome back. We're on home stretch now on the program. Bismarck Ruwani, economic analyst and CEO financial derivatives company, still here with me in the studio as we take a look at the CBN and the economy. Now, Mr. Ruwani, we're talking about where the economy is likely to be in the fourth quarter of the year, given, how it's been like for the first to the third quarter, now the decision by the Central Bank of Nigeria, and you talking about the fact that the pricing mechanism, there seems to be a disequilibrium for the foreign, for the naira and foreign exchange rate. But what is your outlook for the fourth quarter of the year?
I have two scenarios. One is a base scenario, which I assume that the price of oil will recover a little bit and be about $50 to $53 a barrel. If that happens, and we make no adjustment to the exchange rate, there will be some disequilibrium, but we'll be able to limp along. If the price of oil, and it has remained for 7 weeks, only 1 week has it gone above $50 a barrel. If it remains at this level and goes lower, then we will have no choice but to do that which we have to do. We would have to separate between what is good to have and what we need to have. And it takes you back to the level of what our peers have done. Angola produces 1.7 million barrels of oil a day. We produce 1.9. Angola has a population of about 27 or 28 million people. The external reserves per head in Angola is $999. Ours is $100. So an Angolan has 10 times more external reserves than a Nigerian will have. Okay? And what have the Angolans done? The Angolans have cumulatively depreciated their currency by 19%. We have cumulatively depreciated our currency by 8% this year. If you add last year, 26%. When I looked at the EIU analysis, what we need to do to bring our exchange rate into equilibrium is a maximum of about 5%, which means 5% of 200 is 10. The worst that will happen to bring it in equilibrium is maybe a 10 naira adjustment, but you don't need to do it. If you were to deal with some of the other fiscal issues first, the adjustment that will be required will be minimal, if at all. Now, what are the fiscal issues? What has Angola done? Angola on the 1st of September removed all petroleum subsidies, adjusted the currency by 19%, and has actually witnessed an accretion in reserves. And that's why I said the fiscal team will have to look at it. Nobody's going to talk about petroleum subsidy without the fiscal team looking at the budgetary impact. So if interest rates come down and you reduce the debt service obligations of the government, if you take a good look at the subsidy regime and see how you're going to deal with it so it reduces the corruption and leakages, at the same time, you actually begin to see an improvement in refinery output and distribution network. When you put all of this together, the total adjustment required may not be as difficult as is anticipated. Kennedy had said, you have nothing to fear but fear itself. The panic that an adjustment a market adjustment in exchange rate will cause pandemonium and all sorts of things is, first of all, is incorrect, and it is just a paranoia of people who do not understand market economics. In any case, when the price of oil, if it remains this way, and we begin to see the impact of a sub-$50 barrel oil on our revenues and reserves, then we will have no choice but to take a hard look and decide at what level we're going to do it. And I tell you, first quarter 2013, total export earnings was $23.8 billion. In the now we are doing $12 billion a quarter. We are doing less than half of what happened in 2013. Meanwhile, our imports have only gone down by about 25%. So it's easy. I think it's an easy sell. What we're trying to do is to at least manage the situation. What the central bank has done is that they have managed the situation so that we don't get into a crisis.
You talked about the budgetary impact as well.
Yeah.
And, the House has also begun to talk about the budget.
Yeah.
Yesterday, that piece of information just got lost. There's so many things that we're talking about, particularly the MPC. We're talking about the 2016 budget now. How do you think that all of this is going to impact? The benchmark for oil, the benchmark for foreign exchange, and the rest of it.
Okay, let me tell you outright. First and foremost, there will be a supplementary budget to deal with the shortfall of 2015. So, assuming that you have a Minister of Finance within the next week, by the second week in October latest, there will be a supplementary budget submitted to the National Assembly for approval, either to fill the fiscal hole before you deal with the fiscal gap. After that, you prepare and you go to Peru for the World Bank meetings on October 9th, where all countries are going to be there. And you're going to be talking to the Washington Consensus about what your plans are for 2016. In that 2016 plan, you have to talk about how much you're going to spend to reinvigorate a Marshall Plan for the north central, northeast, and the south of Nigeria. You've got to spend your way out of that. You're going to look at how you deal with this slowdown to stop it, this stagflation situation. You're going to talk about how you want to finance your infrastructure program because you have limited resources. Therefore, Nigeria will have no choice but to borrow both domestically and internationally, whilst simultaneously collecting looted money and all of those. But even if you collect all the looted money in the world, it's not going to alter, it's going to help you. But that does not take away from the fact that your earnings are far below what they were, and your expenditure has to increase. Let's not deceive ourselves. That is the reality. We are in a situation where we need blood transfusion or infusion, right? So the accident victim is there, is bleeding. You need to give him blood, then take him to the theater for work. So we have lost a lot of blood because of oil revenues have come down. We need to reflate, get ourselves back, and then we begin to work normally. That's the situation. That's the analogy that you face, and everybody has to understand it. We've lost blood, we've hemorrhaged revenue. We need to get something back.
So we're going to leave it at that, Mr. Irwani, but thank you so much for coming on the program this morning and sharing your perspectives with us.
Thank you.
Bismarck Irwani is the CEO of Financial Derivatives Company Limited and an economic analyst, giving us his perspectives on decisions reached by the Monetary Policy Committee and what it actually means for the economy. And so many things need to be put into play, particularly, and everybody is anticipating it, the economic team from President Muhammadu Buhari, which is expected to be announced anytime now. And so while we keep our eye on that, I'd like to wish you a good day, a profitable day, of course, for those who are starting the rather long weekend. Have a very fun-filled day. I'm Harriet Agbini. Bye-bye.